Our story begins with a punch teens having a rough conversation on a roof. Someone called Myung Hwan says, "Give me your hand." "Did you cut it? You try to cull yourself, huh? I heard you named me in your SU1C1 to note. You said you can't go on because of me." Jinsu says, "I'm sorry." The other one said, "What a disrespectful loser. If you transfer afterwards, how does that make me look? Have I ever hit you, huh?" Jinsu says, "No, never." The other one said, "No, right?" "That's right." Then gives Jinsu to the other one and says, "He's all yours." Then he started to hit Jinsu. Jinsu said, "Please stop." Then they hit him hard and insulted him until he fell from the roof of the building, and he has been delivered to the hospital. Then the doctor says his BP is okay, but he's drowsy. He has severe edema in the back of his head and tenderness in his left thorax, so I say TBI and abdominal bleeding. I'll transfer him right away for emergency surgery. If he isn't in surgery within an hour, he'll be DOA, no question. We'll intubate him, put in a C-line, then send him over. Then Jinsu's dad entered the emergency room where his son exists. Then Jinsu said, "Dad, are they okay?" "I'm sorry, Dad. I knew it wasn't right, but I wanted to cull them. It'll never happen again, Dad." Then his dad said, "It's okay." Jinsu said, "Do you mean that, Dad?" His dad said, "It'll all be okay, son." He asked, "What's gonna be okay, huh?" His dad responded, "Everything, all of it." Jinsu said, "Has anything gotten better? Just answer me. Has anything gotten better, Dad? Either I die, or they die. It won't get better until someone dies. I'm gonna cull them all." His dad said, "Stop it, Jinsu. I'll fix everything, just stop, okay?" Jinsu said, "Do you want to die, Dad? Should I cull you?" Jinsu started to transform into something bad. Then his dad said, "Son, you need to stop." Then his dad said, "I'm sorry, Jinsu." Then he killed him. Then he put him in a bag and dragged it outside of the hospital. But Jinsu's hand got out of the bag. Then we go to a school where a female student fell asleep. Then she went to the teacher's office. She found a frenzy rat that bite her. Then the teacher, who is Jinsu's father, saw her. Then he dragged her back. Then two students talks with each other. One of them asked, "So the restaurant moved? How about a grand opening?" The one who has the restaurant said, "But we're not doing one." The other one said, What? Cheongsan chicken." Then the one who has the restaurant said, "Seriously? I told them to change the name." His friend said, "What about the old name?" Then he responded, "We're not doing it. The fryer hasn't even come in yet." Then two female colleagues of them came and said, "Hey, gopher, let's get some chicken." Then restaurant kids said, "But we're not open yet." They said, "Sure you are. Your mom says she's testing out a new recipe today." Then the restaurant kid said, "Are you going too?" He said, Yes." Then they went to the restaurant and his mother had a conversation with them about the food. Then we go to Hyosan High School, and the girl that is bitten by the rat is now kidnapped by the teacher Lee in the school. Then Jo was having breakfast with her father and her dad said, "Do exams start next week?" She said, "You always bring up tests when I'm eating." He said, "When else should I ask?" "Wait a minute, we have to finish the sprouts. I mean, you're not going to get good grades anyway. No point in stressing about it." She responded, "Don't give up on me, Dad. I can do it." He said, "I'm not giving up. Just no expectations." She said, "That's giving up." Then someone makes sounds outside, her dad said. "Is these from Cheongsan's?" She said, Her dad said, 2 days ago, there was an accident by a toll gate, so I went to the scene. And whether you're rich or poor, got good grades or bad ones, everyone's equal in an accident. Grades are not that important. Being healthy and safe, that's all that really matters." She responded, "I mean it. I can make it into tier 5 this time." He said, "Don't push yourself." She said, "Then I'll make it into tier 6, okay?" He said, "You shouldn't lie to your dad. Here, eat. It's salty but tasty." Then the doorbell chimes. She said, "It's Chung-san." He said, "Always on time." She said, "Bye, Dad." Then they and all students were running to catch the school, and they arrived late. Then there were some bad students threatened the girl and the boy who were with them when they were beating Jinsu. One of the bad students asked the boy. "Why the hell did you decide to tattle on me, you little prick?" The boy responded. "The teacher said to write down everything we knew. Then they took pictures of the girl and they made the boy to take these pictures. Then we returned to the school where Onjo met a handsome student called Soo Hyuk. Then she said, 'Hey, morning.' He said, 'What?' She said, 'If you have time, come to the roof after lunch.' He said, 'Why?' 'I don't fight anymore.' She said, 'You think I'd want to fight you?' He responded, 'Then why?' She said, 'See you later.' Then the teacher entered the class and said, 'Hi, good morning. Time to hand in your phones. Who's in touch with Hyunju? Nobody? So none of you have tried calling her today? And the girl she is talking about is the kidnapped girl.' Then a student said, we cleaned the science lab together yesterday, but I haven't seen her since.' Then the teacher said, 'Okay, if anyone hears from her sometime the next few days, let me know right away, okay? Exams start next week, so get your acts together.' Then the teacher went to ask Mr. Lee, you know Kim Hyun-ju from my class? She didn't make it home last night. And the kids haven't seen her since she was cleaning the science lab yesterday.' He said, 'Oh, really?' She said, 'Do you remember seeing her by any chance?' He responded, 'No, I haven't.' She asked, so yesterday you went home without stopping by the science lab, right?' He said, 'That's what I told you.' She said, 'I'm sorry. Apparently no one's seen her since she was in here, so..." Then she heard something and said, "Is someone in there?" He said, "Yeah, it's just a hamster." Then Mr. Lee went to record what he did to the girl and said in the recording, "A student was bit by the hamster. I injected her with benzodiazepine. It's only slowing down the infection by a few hours." Then the girl said to him, "Don't kill me." Then while the female teacher was teaching the students a class, the kidnapped girl managed to free herself and went to the class and fell. Then the teacher said, "Hey, Hyunju. Hey, what's wrong? Are you okay? Is that blood?" Then the girl said, "He grabbed me. The science teacher grabbed me and locked me up. He tied me up. Then they took her to the clinic quickly, and she was reacting so weirdly as she was transforming into something bad. Then the ambulance took her to the hospital, and we see that Onjo admits to Soo Hyuk that she likes him. Then Mr. Lee went to blame the school manager for what happened because he kept these experiments secret and that they should put the girl in a quarantine. Then the police came to arrest Mr. Lee. Then we go to the doctor of the school clinic. She found out that she has been bitten by the girl, and she started to transform. Then while Onjo was talking with Soo Hyuk, the doctor transformed into zombie and infected one of the students. Then this one infected another student, then another one until it became zombie outbreak in the school, and they all ran afraid. Then all students except for few ones quickly become infected and become zombies, and the outbreak spread like crazy. Then the manager is talking on the phone about the complaints of his students to the police. He said, "You must be mistaken. Our students are required to check in their phones. None of them could have called you. Yes, of course. Everything is just great. Have a nice day." Then he turned to his teachers and said, "Didn't I tell you to make sure to take away their phones? I even got you safes and they're saying zombies? What the hell is wrong with you all?" Then Ms. Park, the teacher, said, "You can't deny there's a problem out there. It's complete madness. We need the police and rescuers to get the kids out." Then the manager said, "Are you the only teacher? Are you that special? Whatever happens inside this school must be handled internally. Go, put the kids in their classrooms." Then another teacher said, "But sir, I don't think the students are in the situation where they will listen to us at all." But the manager said, "What are you still doing here? Get out there." Then the teacher said, "And if you'd go out right now, you can see for yourself that it's total chaos." But the manager said, "Just do as you're told. I made you the dean to discipline them, so do that." Then he asked Ms. Park, "Where are you going, Sunhwa? Don't do anything stupid. Stay here." She said, "I'm going to make an announcement to tell all the kids to leave." Then Onjo and her friends went to hide from the zombies in a room in the school, and the kidnapped girl went to the hospital. Then the police interrogates Mr. Lee, and the officer said to him, "You received the PhD in cell biology in the US, returned to Korea. You were a pharmaceutical researcher and quit, then teaching. You should be a college professor with this resume. Definitely not some lousy high school teacher. Then Mr. Lee said, the hospital needs to put Hyunju to quarantine, nothing less. The officer said, why would a teacher decide to chain a student? Then Mr. Lee responded, if I were a college professor, if I were a prosecutor or a reporter, would you have listened? The officer said, ah, that's why you did it, because no one listened to you or understood how you felt. You were lonely, maybe saddened. Is that it? Mr. Lee said. Fine, let's do nothing. Everyone will die. This world and all those damned imbeciles. I hate you assholes. You're a sick kind. Can't stand you, the officer said. You commit the crime, but you blame others, society, everything. When you reported your son missing, you said, the world swallowed my son. What the hell's that supposed to mean? What, is the world an anaconda? It didn't swallow him. Tell me what really happened to him. You called your son, but you reported him missing to avoid being a suspect. Am I right? Your son isn't missing, is he? What happened to him, huh? Then we see Mr. Lee's recording, and he says in it, Jinsu is dead. I placed the mouse and cat together. Most of the mice sat in a corner and were frozen, trembling in fear. But once in a while, the mouse would lose its senses due to the overwhelming fear and attack the cat. When this happens, its testosterone level shots it up. I extracted that hormone and refined it. For all the mice in this world living in fear, trembling. I thought if fear turned into rage, he'd become stronger than anyone. He bit his mom. Infection. Day. I gave him benzodiazepine and stopped the haloperidol. He'll be awake in less than 10 minutes. Then after that, the officer said, you called your son, didn't you? Then the kidnapped girl woke up in the hospital and chased everyone. Then there was a bus full of sports students and going to the school where the zombies are. And when they arrived, they saw what is happening. Then the survived students moved weirdly to another floor to hide in it under the excessive attack of the zombies. Then there were 3 students hiding in the bathroom, and one of them transformed into zombie, and the other 2 were defending themselves until the sports students came and killed her with the arrow. Then Anjo found out that her best friend was bitten, and she will be a zombie, but she didn't want to let her go like that until she became a zombie, and they tried to throw her from the window, but Anjo refused to let her fall, remembering all her memories with her, so she got emotional, but they dropped her at the end. Then they managed to bring the water hose to use it as rope to descend to the lower floor where Miss Park is. And they managed to descend all except Cheong-san, who fell with the zombies from the window. Then we returned to the officer and Mr. Lee. The officer said, a virus, huh? So you're telling me that this whole mess started with a virus made by a high school science teacher. This virus. Tell me why. Why would you do something like this? Mr. Lee said, Detective, do you have any kids? Could you let your child die? No parent on earth could do that. The officer said, I don't want to hear that. Just answer the question. What is the virus and how? Then another officer went to tell the officer. Chief needs everyone right now. Come on, hurry. But Mr. Lee said, it's too late. We're all dead. There's no hope for survival. Then it appeared that Cheong-san caught the rope and Suheoik came to help him, and they both managed to jump into the room where the survived students are. Then Miss Park said to them, we don't know what's going on out there with those... Are they zombies? What about the other teachers? Has anyone called the cops? One of the students said, don't worry, I'm sure someone already has. I just don't have my phone on me right now. We called them, but they're not coming. Neither the police nor first responders. Miss Park said, I'm sure they'll be here soon. We just have to wait a little longer. Then one of the students said, Ms. Park. Hyunju's hands were cold too. So were Isaac's. What if all of this started with Hyunju? She went to the hospital. What if it spread in there as well? Maybe that's why no one's coming. But wait, they still work, right? Internet. The internet. Let's see. Sorry, Ms. Park. It should work. Is it on? Then they started to ask and answer each other and cooperate. What's the problem? Why is it not turning on? It just did. Oh, sorry, school ones are so slow. Maybe it's not online? It must be. It's gonna take all day. Is it still loading? Su Hyuk, did you see it? I don't think it's working. Then Su Hayoik said, in the science lab. One of them responded, Su Hyok, we're in the broadcasting room. He said, well, I was actually in the art room. Then they found on the internet that this is a zombie virus. Then in the city council, the police arrested a zombie, but they did not know what is that. And they told the officer, you have to understand he's the youngest aide we have. When he got back from the council building, he just collapsed and started convulsing. Then of the soldiers said, Captain, he smells like a rotting corpse. And the employee added, and then he got back up and went like, and just a tucked assemblywoman out of nowhere. So we tied him up to that chair. But we didn't know if we should call the police. You know. Then message from headquarters came into the officer, and the message went like this. Rescue Team 1, Level 3 disaster in Hyosan. Report to temporary headquarters. Did you say Level 3 disaster? I repeat. Level 3 disaster in Hyosan. Report to temporary headquarters. The council manager said to the officer, what is it? He said, this is the director's order. Mobilize immediately. That is all. The fire department headquarters was moved out of the city for an emergency. The disaster and safety control will manage the situation. Then the employee said to his manager, they think it's an acute infection. They're saying there will be an evacuation order for the whole Hyosan city. Then Cheongsan mother saw on the news of the virus outbreak and the evacuation of the city, and the anchorwoman and the guest said on the TV. The series of incidents occurring in Hyosan appear to be due to a mass outbreak of a highly infectious virus. We'll speak to the Disease Control Center for more details. Director Cha Hyun-seok, can you tell us what's going on? Considering the level of spread, it appears to be a highly infectious disease. Those infected became unusually aggressive. Victims showed similar symptoms, so we suspect secondary infection is possible. As you've heard, this is very dangerous. As advised by the KDCA, the government has raised the infectious disease alert to serious. They stated that they will do everything possible to prevent the spreading outside of Hyosan. Breaking news. Just in. The National Security Council has officially declared an evacuation order in place for Hyosan City in Gyeonggi Province. If you are watching this, please be aware. You are under evacuation. Please leave the city immediately, I repeat. The situation is extremely serious. Then Cheongsan mother took the bike and went quickly to search for her son. Then a call came to the officer at the council and it says, it seems like you get infected if you get bit, so don't get bit or make physical contact. We don't know how much about the virus yet, so just avoid as much as you can. I hear an assembly member is there. Then during the call, one of the officer's men started to become a zombie. Then we find that a lot of zombies in the city attack everything, but the police is trying to prevent them. Then the officer at the council said to the manager, Fire and Disasters Headquarters said not to touch the infected. As you can see, it's highly contagious. We were notified too, no need to explain. Then the manager asked, how long do we have to stay here? He responded, they're sending over a helicopter, but it's going to take time. So it looks like you'll have to wait a bit longer. She said, did you notify them that I was here as well? I'm asking if it's taking time to get a chopper even though they know I'm here. The officer responded, no, I did not tell them who was here. The employee said, you should have told them. That way they'll send one right away to pick us up. The officer said, per rules of rescue, the weak and ill take priority over VIPs. We'll hear back soon, so please be patient like everyone else. The officer, who is the father of Onjo, tried to make contact to know the status of Hyosan High School to know if his daughter is safe, but the contact was unavailable. But he sent a message. Then one of the female student in the survived group left the room to face her destiny with the zombies as a punishment for causing one of their friends to be a zombie because she hated him as he was bullying her, and Ms. Park prevented anyone to go after her to survive. Someone came on the internet live from the city and said during the live stream, Zombie Apocalypse in Korea. Hello everyone, I'm Oren Gibberish, and I always get to the truth behind the rumors. Okay, today, I'll be uncovering the truth behind the Hyosan zombies rumor. I'm on my way to see if it's really turned into Zombieland like they've been saying online and on social media. You know what I'm talking about. Whoa, it's already pretty crazy. Look out there. It's bumper to bumper with cars trying to get into Hyosan. There are so many cars. Hold on. I'm gonna have to get out and hike my way in. I came up the mountain to avoid the traffic jam. See that there? That is Hyosan all the way down there in the distance. Okay, I'll show you the gear that I've brought for this mission. First, a helmet, a hockey mask, a pair of knee pads, shin guards. Very important. This is emergency food, first aid kit, and water, and the most important of all, an axe. If something grabs me, slice them up like roast beef. Please hit like and subscribe, okay? My mom told me to stay home. Look at you all geared up. This is scripted, isn't it? It should be over soon. This footage will help us look at that acting. This is fun. They're so aggressive. Show us the street. I don't think I can sleep tonight. Goodbye. Then Chungsan mother jumped the wall of the Hyosan school to look for her son. But she was attacked and bitten by the zombies. And she will transform into one. Then the survived students talked about how they will make a bathroom. And after long argument about how to make a bathroom, they figured out, with help of Anjo's ideas that she learned from her father. And at the same time, her father used the same ideas to make a bathroom at the council because they may have to spend the night here. Then the assemblywoman of the council said to Anjo's father, the officer, "What do you mean? You're leaving first for a personal matter. How could a firefighter say something like this during a crisis?" He said, "I'll take any punishment when this is over. I'll resign if I have to." She said, "Listen, do you intend to leave all these people and go by yourself? You'll abandon your sick colleague and leave a kid in charge?" He said, "A kid? He's not a kid. He's a firefighter." She said, "Fine. I made a mistake. Please accept my apologies. I didn't mean to offend you. But this isn't just about you." He said, "My daughter is at school, but I can't reach her. I know she's waiting for me. I need to go." "I'm sorry," she said. "Stop. Wait. Let me tell you something. His apartment is right there. If he says he needs to go save his mother, do I let him go? And she lives right over there. She has a husband and children. Is it the right thing to do to let her leave, knowing they'll all die if they go out?" He said, "I'll go, even if I'll die." She said, "That's exactly why I'm saying this. You're a firefighter. I'm a politician. Do you know when it's the hardest for people like us? Right now. Because we have to save the most people, not the people most precious to us." Then the guy who does the live stream back again and says, "People. Anyone alive? Anybody there? This whole city is pure hell. The cops won't answer the phone. No first responders. I'm going to hide and wait for the rescuers. And please hit like and subscribe to my channel, okay? Can't you just like it after I did all this? Okay. I'm going to hide right now." Then the police officer went to Mr. Lee and said, "Do you have any idea what's going on out there? You gotta tell me what you know." Mr. Lee said, "The strong are now ripping apart the weak. It happens all the time." The officer said, "Are you crazy?" Mr. Lee said, "The world is crazy." The officer said, "Why did you do this?" Mr. Lee said, "I tried to tell you, but no one listened to me. My son was bullied for a very long time. I only found out when he tried to call himself. It was too late, but I still thought I could fix it. So I decided to change my son. I just hoped he wouldn't die. I didn't want him to try and commit Su1C1 again." The officer said, "You created a monster." Mr. Lee said, "That's how desperate I was to save him. Rather than die as a human, I wanted him to survive as a monster." The officer said, "Don't you realize that monster is culling everyone?" Mr. Lee said, "Who cares if they all die? They were all complicit, you crazy guy." The officer asked, "Who created this world?" Mr. Lee said, "I warned that if you ignore it for being a minor assault, violence would eventually rule the world, but no one listened to me." The officer responded, "It happens. Kids fight. They were bullied because they deserved it. The bastards who thought that and shunned them made this world the hell of what it is today." Mr. Lee said, "No, you're the one who made this hellhole. It's on you." The officer responded, "Maybe as a cop I'm partly responsible, but what about those people out there dying without knowing why?" "Sure. Maybe they're partly responsible like you say. But there are certain things you must pay with death and certain things you must pay as you live. You wanted to change the world, not for everyone to die like this, huh? Where's the antidote? Well, there has to be some kind of treatment. Mr. Lee said, there's not. The officer said, let's go now. We have to evacuate. Then, when they got out of the investigation room, the officer's aim was to search in the laptop of Mr. Lee in the science lab for a solution. Then, Mr. Lee has been bitten and became a zombie. Then the officer ran until he reached someone and told him that he will go to the emergency agency to tell them about the laptop in the Hyosan school. Then Cheong-san and Soo Hyoik decided to go to the teacher's room to search for a phone, and they went on their way. And the people at the council with the leadership of Anjo's father moved under the attack of zombies to reach the roof, and they managed to do it. And the helicopter came to pick them. While Cheong-san found the girl who had been pictured as damaging the phones, but he managed to pick one, then he ran because she became a zombie. And when he went to the manager's room, he found a bad student is killing the manager and he filmed him, but the bad student ran after him and threw the knife at him while he is running. Then the helicopter came to the roof and took the employees and officers in it, and they went to the quarantine camp. And in the news, it was announced by the anchorman the following: the government announced the declaration of martial law in an effort to control the crisis in Hyosan. Starting sometime yesterday afternoon, a strange epidemic began to spread, which led to an evacuation order and a citywide lockdown. It's the first time in years that martial law has been declared. And then another anchorwoman announced the following: as the time was the democratization movement on May 1st, I repeat, martial law has been declared in order to control the Hyosan. The sense of panic caused by the Hyosan epidemic has sent markets into a death spiral. Sidecar investments were activated for both KOSPI and KOSDAQ, which came as volatile market respondent to COVID, and there were protesters and chaos. Then the government on their meeting and the Prime Minister said, we have to expand martial law to control the media. There are rumors that radiation from U.S. nuclear bombs created the zombies, that the heads of Korea's top corporations fled the country. Most of the media are spreading fake news and sharing it online without verifying sources. It's contributing to all the chaos. The government should not control the media. The people themselves should control the media. And our citizens have enough power to do that. No expansion in martial law. Let's focus on containment and rescuing the uninfected. Those are our priorities. Then we found out that Cheong-san didn't get hurt by the knife. It missed him. And the bad student chased him to take the phone. He was bitten by the zombies and Cheong-san managed to run from them and hide with the phone. Then the army leader said a speech on the TV as following: Martial Law Command has acted swiftly and thoroughly. We sealed off the entire Hyosan area to prevent the situation from spreading to other regions. If you live outside the area under martial law, please stay calm and return to your normal lives. Currently, Martial Law Command is doing its absolute best to quarantine those infected and to rescue and protect those who are not. Then the survived student thought that there is a drone in another room in the school which can help them know what is happening around them. And Cheong-san managed to hide in another room. And they managed to go to the room and prepare the drone. Then they returned again to their safe room, and they flew it. And they saw Cheong-san hiding in a room, but they couldn't contact him. Then they saw chaos and sad scenes until its power became empty. Then the helicopter reached the quarantine camp, and there were an announcement there saying, "Attention, citizens of Hyosan. Please proceed calmly to the first quarantine, with the tests to determine whether or not you are infected. Will be returned to you at the later stage. This is for your safety and the safety of those around you. Thank you for your service." Then the assemblywoman asked the leader, "Where's the control room?" He responded, "As per martial law, you have to quarantine until you are examined." The employee said, "Why in the world would she have to quarantine now? She just came back from a battlefield." She said, "It's okay. That's enough. So, where is the control room?" The leader said, "You have to be examined first." She said, "I'm not refusing to be examined." He responded, "Please follow the protocols." Then Anjo's father introduced himself. Rescue Team 1, Captain Nam Soju. I was responsible for them from mobilization until rescue. Then the leader said, take them to the exam room. Then the employee said, what is this place? This isn't an examination room. The leader said, there are lots of people in line for exams. You have to wait your turn. The employee said, then you should have explained the situation and asked her to wait somewhere else and then escorted her. The leader responded, what the hell is wrong with you? There are plenty of other people outside who are sitting on mats on a concrete floor. We're trying to make you as comfortable as possible because you're an assemblywoman. The wait time for an examination is 2 hours. Then Anjo's father said to him, wait a minute. My daughter is at her school right now. It may be too late if we keep waiting. Please request a rescue. The leader said, we're doing the best we can. Wait here for now. Then as a surprise, the bad student didn't transform into a zombie after he was bitten due to a mutation of the virus according to the host, and some injection as Mr. Lee explained to us in a recording. And now the bad student knew he will not be a zombie and he will search for Cheong-san. Mr. Lee says in a recording, Hans Jonas discussed the responsibilities of life-related technologies. I thus named the Jonas virus after this philosopher. It's also my responsibility to create an antidote. I refuse to fail. Then the survived students discovered the speaker is working in the radio room, so it came an idea to their minds that they turn on the speakers and it will attract the attention of the zombies. Then they can reach the roof and attract the helicopters to save them. And they use the speakers first to say to Cheong-san, do not move. We will get to you and take you. We know that you think to come, but don't, otherwise you will be bitten. Then they started to move, but one zombie chased them, and he caught Suhaeoik, but the bad student saved him and asked him about Cheong-san. And the bad student told him that he wants to kill him. So Suhaeoik fought him until the bad student fell from the window and transformed into a zombie. The survived students couldn't reach the roof, and they entered another room to hide from the zombies. Then we go to the quarantine camp. The assemblywoman says to her employee, are the cell phones working in here? He said, no, there won't be service here. She said, so you're telling me a politician can't talk a way out of here? I've never been treated this way before. Anjo's father said, there's nothing politicians can't do in our country, right? She said, I've never done anything illegal. Never did anything improper my whole life. He responded, then can't you do it just this one time? I really need to leave. She said, wait a little. I'll get you a helicopter after we're tested and send you to your daughter's school. He responded, the test isn't the problem. Even if we test negative, we'll still have to quarantine here. It was 9 days for MERS, 2 weeks for COVID-A, and even 3 weeks for Ebola. The employee said, are you saying we have to stay here even after we get tested? Anjo's father said, it depends what they consider the incubation period is. Then the soldiers entered and said, please eat as much as possible and leave your empty food container by the door. Then Anjo's father introduced himself to the soldier and said, tell me, how long are they considering for quarantine? He responded, we don't know, sir. They don't know what this virus is, so they don't know the incubation period. From what I hear, they're thinking a minimum of, 4 weeks. The employee said, what? That means we have to be here for at least a month. The soldier said, wait until you get tested. Anjo's father said, wait a minute. I'm sorry, but I have to get out of here much sooner than that. The soldier said, even judges and prosecutors are standing by and waiting. Connections don't work here. He responded, I know, and I'm very sorry. I sincerely apologize. Then he beat the soldiers and said to the assemblywoman, ma'am, I'm really sorry. I have to get to the school. I already said I'd follow protocol and help you. Those protocols kept me from saving too many lives. I'm leaving. Please help them out so they are not punished. Not too severely, at least. She said, you create this mess, but you want me to clean it up. He said, I know you're a mother as well. I'm a father. Then he and his assistant dressed like the soldiers and walked like them to get out of the camp. Then Anjo's father went to jump from the wall and he left his assistant. But the other soldiers discovered that he is not one of them, and he ran to escape, but they started to fire at him while he kept running. And the survived students who are trapped in the Hyosun school found a camera and every one of them started to record a video message to their families individually, while Anjo's father jumped into the water and a lot of bullets are fired at him in the water until he got injured. There is an officer got bitten and they took him with them to examine him. Then Mr. Lee said in a previous recording, "There's hope." A small number of white blood cells were detected in the blood. Even after full transformation, the white blood cells remained, and they were fighting like warriors. If I raise the body temperature, I can activate these cells. 29 degrees now. In case blood isn't flowing, I'll raise the temperature both internally and externally. And it appeared that the bad student is still alive and said, "I will get you, Cheong-san." Then the trapped survived students still want to reach the roof, so the helicopters can pick them. So they said, "We're going to have to build a tall barricade here, and then we lure them in with music. Use the instruments too. If we leave the door open, they'll follow the music in. Once it's clear, we take the back door up to the roof." In other words, what you're saying is we stack desks, chairs, and whatever else we could find in the middle here. Open the front door and run out through the back door, right? Not here. Farther back, we need more room on this side. There aren't that many of us, but there are lots of zombies. Let's give it a shot. We can figure out the rest later. We have a TV too. We should be able to connect it and make it louder. Then Anjo's father broke into an empty police station and took a rifle and some equipment. Then he left the police station from the window under the excessive attack of the zombies. Then the trapped survived students started to execute the plan, and they built everything and became ready. Then the zombies attacked. Then the doctor was talking with the army leader about the zombie officer and said, "We need to study him to create a treatment or a vaccine, but we don't have equipment or scientists. We'll have to take him to the KDCA." The army leader said, "He cannot leave the quarantine zone under any circumstances. Do you understand? Find scientists and build the facility. We will airlift all necessary equipment." "What's his name?" the doctor responded. "Staff Sergeant Lee Jae-jun. A week away from discharge, but he volunteered for the operation." The army leader said, "Get his parents' consent to do research." The soldier said, "We're under martial law. We don't need his parents' consent. If you decide to give consent, we can begin the experiment or autopsy right away." The army leader said, "I said call his parents. Even under martial law, that's our duty for taking away their child." Then some soldier said to the commander of the quarantine, "Commander, sir, there's assemblywoman awaiting testing." He responded, "She has to follow rules." The soldier said, "It's Park Yoon-hee from the National Defense Committee." Then the commander went to her and said, "I'm the commander here." She said, "Nice to meet you." But he interrupted her saying, "Even if you are an assemblywoman, around here you're not going to get any special treatment. That's all I came to tell you. Don't bother these people trying to do their jobs. I'd appreciate it if you'd stay quiet and follow the rules." She responded, "That's fine. I have a favor to ask though. Please send a chopper to Hyosan High School. There's a firefighter on his way there. He's by himself." "Commander, hey, wait, you gotta send the helicopter to the high school. We have to save the children. Even wars can't rid of schools. Even if you win, if the schools are gone, we've lost." Then the commander went to his office and said to his assistant, "How many students have we saved so far?" The assistant responded, "So far, 0, sir. We don't think anyone got out because all the students were in class at that time." The commander said, "Are choppers available?" The assistant responded, "No, sir. They've all been sent on missions." The commander said, "Request a Black Hawk immediately. Have them scan high schools in Hyosan." Then the survived students moved on their way to the roof. But they found that some student closed the door of the roof and they can't open it. And the helicopter came and landed on the roof to take any survived students. And the students continued to battle the zombies while trying to open the door until the bad student came face to face with Cheong-san. Then the helicopter took the only student was on the roof after they asked him if there are any survived students, but he said no. Then the flew with him, while the other students managed to finally open the door, but they couldn't attract the attention of the helicopter. Then we hear Mr. Lee in a previous recording says, "Hope is the cruelest torture that prevents you from giving up on life entirely. I can't think of anything else, but I also can't stop trying." Once the temperature went up, the white blood cells were activated, but they were absorbed by the virus and transformed into a different one. Then the survived students managed to make fire to help them being discovered, and also to warm them up during the cold weather of the night. And they all started to talk and have a conversation. And at night, while they were having a conversation and Cheong-san and Anjo was talking to each other, the bad student climbed the pipes all the way to the roof and he attacked Anjo, then he attacked Cheong-san. Then the other students separated the bad student and Cheong-san from each other while fighting. Then Cheong-san said to him, "Who are you? What the hell are you? You come from the One Heart Club." The bad said, "One Heart. It's me." "Yeah. You don't know? How the fuck do you not know me?" Cheong-san said, "I know you. I said it many times before. You're the bully's gopher." The bad said, "If you call me that again, I'll cull you." Cheong-san said, "You weren't a gangster and you weren't a good student. And now you're not a human and you're not a zombie either. No matter the time or place, you're nothing." The bad said, "I won't just cull you. I'll gouge out both of your eyes and feed your blind ass to the zombies. Everyone but Cheong-san can go, unless you want to die with him." But they all fought him until they threw him from the roof. Then we see the army examining the zombie officer, and the doctor says to the commander, "They can't find the sequence of the virus." The commander responded, "What does that mean?" The doctor said, "All living organisms have a root system. If you follow a specific route, you can trace it back to its origin. Sort of like a genealogy for viruses, but we can't figure it out." The commander said, "Are you saying it's a brand new virus?" The doctor said, "The KDCA is analyzing it too, but so far they can't identify it either. We need to identify it so we can start creating treatments." The commander said, "You are supposed to be the experts. How the hell could you not have identified it by now?" The doctor said, "The RNA structure changes every time we test it. It's almost like the virus is evolving on its own." Then another soldier came to the commander and said, "We rescued a detective from Hyo-san police station, and he seems to know a lot about the virus, sir." And that detective said, "There's a laptop in Hyo-san High School that has, you need to start from the very beginning, but we don't have much time. The disease spreading in Hyo-san is called the Jonas virus. Lee Byung-chan, a science teacher at Hyo-san High School, created it. He left his laptop in the school science lab. He said it has everything we need in order to get ourselves out of this catastrophe." The commander said, "Do you think his story is credible?" The soldier responded, "The research says the initial reports of the outbreak were from Hyo-san Hospital's ER and the high school, and says the girl that was taken to the ER was a student there. I'm positive that Hyo-san High School was ground zero." The commander said, "Keep questioning the detective, and send special mission to the school and retrieve the laptop." Then the helicopter reached the roof of the Hyo-san school, and the students were very happy. They thought they came to save them. But 3 soldiers descended and said to them that they came on a mission and told them to wait until they finish it. Then they managed to decrypt the laptop and finished their mission. And while they were preparing to take the students one by one, a girl in the quarantine attacked the soldiers. And the commander said, "What the hell is that?" The soldier said, "I believe she's infected but asymptomatic." The commander responded, "So she has a disease, but there was no way to tell she was infected. You're saying we can't differentiate between the healthy and the infected. Connect to the team at Hyo-san High." Then he connected with the team and said, "Don't rescue anyone." The soldier said, "Did you mean everyone?" He responded, "We just discovered a case as asymptomatic." The soldier said, "But their temperatures are fine." The commander said, "It was the same thing with the girl we brought here. No one will be safe if one of them gets sick in the chopper. If they resist, shh them." The soldier responded, "They're just children." The commander said, "Listen to me. Soldiers are dying here. 4 men were attacked by 1 girl. So do what I say exactly." Then they had to leave the students hopeless and they went on their way back to the base. Then an investigation was done to the assemblywoman in the quarantine. The officer said to her, "A witness stated that you and your aide were accomplices in Kim Yu-sin and Nam So-ju's escape and result in an attack on our men. He kept denying your involvement, so we asked you to come here and answer some questions." She said, "Are you recording this?" The officer said, "Yes, we are." And her assistant said, "Wait a minute. Aren't you supposed to tell us if you're going to record the investigation?" The investigator said, "We're going to record this conversation. Give your consent." She said, "Would you please point the camera at me directly?" The investigator said, "Go ahead." She said, "I'm Assemblywoman Park Yoon-hee. I've been accused of aiding and abetting firefighters Nam So-ju and Kim Yu-sin who had saved my life, and their escape from the camp. I am being interrogated, but I was not an accomplice. I was the true offender." She said, "Firefighter Nam So-ju saved us, and he did this despite the fact that his daughter was nearby. He tried to go save his daughter after he saved us, but the martial law units stopped him. His daughter was everything to him. I said I'd take responsibility, and that he should escape by any means necessary to save his daughter. Even if it's not allowed under martial law, no one can ever stop a father's love for his daughter. Regardless of the punishment imposed on me, I will always stand with the powerless people." Then Mr. Lee says in a previous recording, "There's no more hope left. It's like every sin entered the human body in concentrated form. Even if we can conquer this virus, I worried that a world ruled by humanity will never return. Can we still believe people are beautiful after seeing them become the worst possible creatures?" There was something we'd say at the pharmaceutical company whenever we hit a wall. Science begins with imagination and ends as a mystery. I went to see a shaman on my way home. He told me this right here would immediately fix everything. Then the army examined the zombie girl and ye doctor says to the commander, "She's either positive or negative depending on when we test her." The commander said, "What does that mean?" The doctor said, "We have to assume it's a fusion or some kind of evolution." The commander said, "Like a mutation." The doctor responded, "Yes, that's correct. The virus is hiding in the RNA of the cells. We can only detect it when it manifests. If it's dormant, it won't show up. That means tests don't tell us whether or not the subject is infected. It's like the human and the monster are fighting inside the patient." The commander said, "Is it at all possible that there are others like her?" The doctor said, "As per KDCA's recommendation, it's best to presume that they're infected even if they show no symptoms." The commander said, "Going forward, separate everyone from Hyosan and consider them infected but asymptomatic. And monitor later, rescue separately and more closely." Then the soldiers went to take the assemblywoman and the others with her. And the soldier said, "In the interest of stopping this spread, we're taking you to a special quarantine. For safety reasons, you'll be handcuffed during transport." They said, "Do we look like criminals to you? Why are you suddenly imprisoning all of us? Also, how dare you try to put handcuffs on an assemblywoman, huh?" The soldier said, "Please obey the rules. Don't test my patients." They responded, "It's martial law, not a military dictatorship." The soldier said, "Please obey the rules." Then they took them. And the announcer said, "Attention, all citizens in the quarantine camp. In order to find those who are infected but asymptomatic, we are separating Hyosan citizens from those of you from other regions, as per the KDCA's recent safety recommendation. Until a reliable testing method is created and the situation is resolved, stricter quarantine rules will be put in place effective immediately. We apologize for the inconvenience and please follow the rules and cooperate." Then it rained at the Hyosan school, and the survived students said to each other, "You know how zombies follow us if they hear us? Maybe if we move every time there's thunder, they won't be able to. I don't think anyone is coming to save us. Wouldn't you rather die trying to get out than die here? All right then. What do you have in mind? If we take the back door of the auditorium to the tennis courts and then go right through the English Center, we can get to the mountain. If we manage to reach the mountain, we can make it all the way to Yangdong. What are we going to do if the zombies catch us? It's not like anyone is going to save us if we stay here. We're the only ones who can save ourselves." Chong-san said, "If anything goes wrong, I'll scream and lead the zombies away. That way none of you will get hurt, okay? So let's do this." Because of the rain, all the scents came to me at once. They got mixed up. The rain is really loud too. I'm sure the zombies' senses are dulled. I think some of us might not be able to keep pace. We can't have anyone fall behind. Let's pair up and hold hands. For protection. Let's survive tonight. We'll talk about us later. Then they slowly and quietly moved towards outside of the building. Then suddenly Cheong-san saw his mother, and he was surprised and saddened that she is transformed into a zombie. Then his friends beat her as a zombie, but he wanted to defend her. But it is useless as she is one of the zombies right now. So they took him away. And they ran until they reached the school stadium, and it was full of zombies, but they managed to hide in a storeroom. Then the army are watching a previous recording of Mr. Lee, while he says, "A virus must have a consistent pattern for us to create a vaccine. But the Jonas virus transforms and evolves on its own. It is an ever-changing monster. It's impossible to create a vaccine. There is only one solution: slaughter, completely burning and culling the host so not a single cell remains. The moment we are consumed by arrogance and think we can defeat the virus, humankind will end." Then the soldier said to the commander, "The file was massive, so we couldn't analyze it all. But a significant portion of it is credible, sir." The commander said, "And where is the proof for that?" The soldier said, "Well, KDCA is creating a virus using the exact method he described. If they create the same virus, then the KDCA will conclude it's credible." The commander said, "Well, many soldiers are going insane from this thing, but it's scarier when a scientist goes crazy." A soldier said, "Did you hear they're expanding martial law?" The commander said, "Martial law? Why would they do that if we're handling it well?" The soldier said, "My friend in the NIS analysis team said they're discussing pulling back the blockade to Yangdong and expanding martial law." Another one said, "What about Hyo-san?" He responded, "I think they're willing to make sacrifices." Then the commander said, "We may have ceased our rescue operation for now, but there might not be another time to rescue survivors. Strengthen the blockade on the outskirts of Hyo-san. The moment the blockade is penetrated by the infected, we'll have to step up and abandon Hyo-san." Then the party leader went to the assemblywoman and handed her a letter of resignation. She responded, "Childish to think the party leader came personally to save me. You came to dump me." He said, "My NIS source says something is going to happen very soon in Hyo-san, in your district. If something bad really does happen, I'll say you even resigned from your post thinking it would help prevent it. No one would even think of blaming you." She said, "Blame me for what?" He said, "Trust me, you're going to sign it. I'll protect your political career until the end. Do you need time to think it over? You failed Hyo-san." She said, "They'll just abandon it." He said, "Sign it within the day and hand it to the person in charge of this place." Then the doctor who examined the zombie girl said to the commander, "This is the virus that was created using Lee Byung-chan's method precisely. This is a sample from an infected. The two viruses are 80% match." The commander said, "Are you saying everything he says in the videos is true?" The doctor said, "Yes. When someone gets infected, their heart stops. Only the virus survives. It stimulates the brainstem and moves the body. They're like moving corpses. We haven't found any way to save the dead." The commander said, "You're telling me that he's dead?" The doctor said, "Staff Sergeant Lee Jae-jun is dead from a medical perspective, but she's, difficult to explain. She was found alive. There has never been a virus with such a fast rate of infection in history. Our only solution is getting rid of the host. I'm not going to tolerate the sign of indifference." The commander said, "Your only job is to find me a cure." Then soldiers came to the commander and said, "They broke through the barricade. It's spreading into Yangdong." The commander said, "How bad is the spread?" The soldier said, "They're taking root into downtown Yangdong. We sent army reservists in the area to the barricades." The commander said, "Send all the reservists to create a lockdown zone in Yangdong and evacuate the city. Call in all the advisors." Then he asked his assistant, "You said you had a friend in the NIS? Ask him to meet officially." Then the survived students found a chocolate bar, and everyone ate a piece of it. Then they decided to move to outside, but after they wear and use the sports gear in the room to be able to resist the zombies. Then the NIS agent met with the army and explained to them the following. Each of those red dots is the location of a random cell phone in Hyo-san. At first, they begin with erratic movement, and that gives us nothing to analyze. But slowly, they move collectively. If you look at them as a whole, they're traveling outward, because there is nobody left in the city to eat. They're slowly beginning to increase their territory. Consider them like a dangerous animal in the mountains entering civilization when they run out of food. The commander said, "Let's just cut to the chase. You predicted a spread, right? That's why you proposed expanding martial law to the NSC when Yangdong's gone." The NIS agent said, "So it isn't entirely precise, but look, in 1 week it reaches Seongnam, Hanam, Gwacheon, Anyang, and Gwangmyeong. Coming right after, the city of Seoul. Seems a bit of a stretch if you ask me. Just one person. It's a simulation of what will happen if just one infected person gets out of Hyosan. That's what will happen." Then the researcher said to the commander about the zombie girl, "Her heart rate is reaching. Abnormal heart rate detected." The commander said, "Tell tactics to come up with a strategy to BAM Hyosan." The soldier asked, "To BAM the city, sir? Do you really plan to blow up Hyosan?" The commander said, "Hyosan may fall, but Korea will remain. Act like a soldier." The soldier said, "We can't. The infected are one thing, but what about the civilians that we haven't rescued?" The commander said, "Don't think about the ones we have to kill. The ones we will save will justify everything." Then Anjo and the others tried to open the door to get out while the others are fighting, and when the door opened, as a surprise, Anjo found her father in front of her. Then Anjo's father took the survived students and went with them through the tennis courts and told them to go to the construction site to hide there, and he distracted the zombies until the students went. Then he sacrificed himself and closed the gate so the zombies can't reach them. Then we see a previous recording of Mr. Lee. He says, "This virus changes a person into a different being. The person I loved becomes a monster. You can forget someone who dies, but it's hard to forget someone who has changed. To think that's the very last image of the people I loved the most." Then the researcher told the commander, "Watch as we raise the frequency to KHH. Based on tests that we ran previously in Hyosan, they respond most at KHH. Let's begin the briefing. We plan to emit sounds using drones to lure the infected into target locations. This will allow us to maximize the resulting impact with minimal explosion. The targets: Hyosan Intersection, the Sports Complex, Hyosan High, Hyosan Future College, a total of 4. The commander said, "Expected damage. Out of residents are in various quarantine camps." The chief of staff responded, 60,000 casualties estimated. Among them, we estimate, are infected and Shen are uninfected or asymptomatic. We'll send soldiers after the explosion to evacuate whoever is left. The commander said, "Play the evacuation warning non-stop until the explosions are detonated." Then the commander sent the explosive drones to bomb the city, and the bad student reached Cheongsan and bit him. Then Cheongsan decided to sacrifice himself in distracting the zombies away from his friends. Then he said goodbye to Anjo and went in suicide mission and jumped into a constructed elevator, and all the zombies jumped, but they fell all into the bottom. Then he fought with the bad student while the commander gave the order with bombing the city and the building destroyed, but after the students descended from it, while Cheongsan took the bad student to die with him. After that, the commander put his assistant in charge and said he wants to sleep deeply. Then he went to his office and wore his formal suit and started to record a video of himself saying, "This morning, I watched the final video of Lee Byung-chan, the man who created the virus in his lab. He tried to save his wife and son who had already been infected by the virus, but he failed. What he did was his last resort. I respect the decision he made. Lee Byung-chan was a father and a husband. I'm sure he couldn't call anyone. However, I am a soldier. So today, I ordered the bombing of the city of Hyosan. No one else has instructed me to attack. No one ordered me to do anything. It was my decision and mine alone as the martial law commander. I take full responsibility." Then he talked on the phone to his wife. Then he committed suicide by his gun. The survived students were in the forest. Then they went to the destroyed school to search for Cheongsan, but nothing alive was there. Then they went on their way in the forest, and one of them said, "The soldiers saw that we were at the school. They left us there without helping us, and then they bombed it. Maybe they actually want us to die." Then there was a mutated girl with them said, "I think it's all because of me. Because we were with zombies, they must think we're neither a zombie nor human, like me." Maybe that's what they thought. Then they went on their way to the destroyed city. But the mutated girl with them smelled zombies coming. So she told them to run. But the zombies were fast. But they fought them until they killed them all. But after that, the mutated girl felt that she could hurt them. And also, she is not normal. So she decided to leave them. And they continued their way until they reached the quarantine camp. And they investigated them at first. The investigator said, "Do you know the teacher, Lee Byung-chan?" Every one of them responded as the following: "I only took morning classes because I had training. So no, I don't." Did he ever say or do anything out of the ordinary in the past? He kidnapped a kid from our class named Hyunju. I heard he gave Hyunju some sort of injection. You abandoned us. Then after a few months, the anchorman and anchorwoman said on the TV news, "The National Assembly hearing on the bombing of Hyosan has been postponed upon agreement between the parties." The party leaders announced in a joint statement today that they will not hold the hearing until the Hyosan epidemic situation has been completely resolved. The National Security Council announced that they will end martial law on Hyosan today. This comes 3 months and days since martial law was imposed due to the pandemic. However, as a precaution, Hyosan residents will continue to be quarantined. Although it has been more than 4 months since the Hyosan outbreak started, the Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency has failed to identify the virus. Since it is impossible to know its incubation period, the agency opposed ending the quarantining of Hyosan residents. Donations are pouring in from across the nation for the Hyosan residents who have been living in quarantine for 4 months. Then the announcer of the quarantine camp said, "This notice is to remind you of the curfew times. Curfew lasts from midnight to AM the next morning. During this time, please remain in your shelters and refrain from moving around. This time will be used to inspect facilities and to clean and disinfect the camp. These measures are meant to protect you from infection and to ensure that public facilities remain clean for everyone to use." Then Anjo went to put souvenirs under the tree after she jumped the wall, but she saw a fire on the roof of their school from far away. Then she told Soo Haeoik about that, and she told him to come with her if he wants, but not to tell the others. And at night, she found that he told the others, and they all waiting for her. Then they went to put souvenirs under the tree to honor the people they lost. Then they went to the roof of the school where the fire is, and they found their mutated friend. And she talked with them, then told them that she will be back. Then she jumped as she doesn't die like normal human. The end.